Sigismund of Luxembourg was king of Hungary between 1387 and 1437. That's a long time, but he is an internationally well-known king because he became Holy Roman Emperor. He was not only Hungarian king, but he was also Czech and German ruler. What we should know about him is that he created a lot of reforms. Please remember that he helped the Hungarian nobility forming an estate. This definition is very important, that these are the Hungarian estates. He also developed towns, and please remember that he also had to fight against the Turks. And there was a serious defeat of Sigismund of Luxembourg in 1396. His international knight army was defeated by the Turks. This is why he started building the line of fortresses, a végvárvonalat, in the south of Hungary to defend the country from the Turks. And of course, he also became the Holy Roman Emperor in 1433. In the map, you see that this is where he was defeated by the Turks. At that time, in the 14th century, the Turks were already occupying most of the Balkan, and this is how the European army wanted to stop them. But actually, it was not a successful defense. So we have to speak about the Turkish fights. And of course, Hunyadi János, the Turk beater. What happened? Zsigmond had only a daughter. She got a Habsburg husband who died soon and left a baby boy who was not ready to rule, and the baronial leagues, different baronial leagues supported the different rulers. Hunyadi and his league supported a capable king who is able to defend the country, Ulászló I. So there was a quarrel. There were two kings at the same time in Hungary, but the baby boy was not ready to rule yet. Well, Hunyadi János and of course the Turkish fights made him possible to become governor of the country. Hunyadi was a great landowner. He was raised during the time of, or his family himself became important during the time of Luxembourg, Sigismund of Luxembourg, and of course almost half of the country was in his hands and under his support. As you see, his important fights are in this picture, going towards the Balkan, towards the south. The winter campaign in 1443 and 44 was partial success, and in 1444 at Varna there was a serious defeat. So what I told you, that Hunyadi's attacks were unsuccessful, this is the long campaign or winter campaign, both are correct, and the Battle of Várad, so we don't like them. He was governor of Hungary, preparing for the defense of the country. He was a great defender of the country, so he couldn't defeat the Turks in Turkish territories, but he could defend the country, defend Nándorfehérvár. As you see, it's in the south of Hungary, Nándorfehérvár, in 1456. Today we call Nándorfehérvár Belgrade, the capital city of Serbia. It was a great success. It stopped the Turks for 70 years. So we can say that János Hunyadi is a great hero defending the country from the Turks. And we have to remember that his son was Matthias Hunyadi, who was king of Hungary between 1458 and 1490. Well, what happened during his time? Well, during his time, first of all, he got the power, got the throne of Hungary according to an agreement. Because if you remember, there were the Hunyadi League and there was the Cillei-Garai League, who had to agree that Matthias would be a good king because he would be easy to control. És akkor itt magyarul elmondom gyorsan, hogy nem fogom kérni azt az időszakot, amit Hunyadi János halála és Mátyás koronázása között meséltem el, az elfogatásról, meg Hunyadi László gyilkosságáról. Nekem Hunyadi Mátyásra van szükségem 1458-tól. So he was crowned to be king of Hungary, but very soon it turned out that he is not easy to control. He was uncontrollable, and he took absolute power in the country, created reforms, put aside everyone who could limit his power. He had some fights in the south, as you see, with the Turks, but it was mostly defensive wars in the south. But and in this map, it's also seen that he had an agreement with the Habsburg ruler Friedrich III that this is when he bought back the royal crown from Vienna. Please remember that he was an absolute power. He was an absolutistic king, not classic absolutism, but we can say that all the power was in his hands and all the decisions were made by him, and all the offices were controlled by him. He used a lot of civilian people and lower level people, made them nobles, and this is how he wanted to make them loyal. So he raised even serf families. So a lot of lower layer people came to power. He had a lot of income. In this chart, we see that most of his income was the war tax, which he collected sometimes twice, but as you see, he had other regale incomes as well. So his incomes from royal lands is not important anymore. His incomes were mostly taxes. He also made a new custom after the 30th tariff of Charles Robert, a 36 vám után koronavám lett, which we call royal tariff. He also made a reform, which is not in this picture, of kapuadó. He made smoke tax, azaz füstadó lett belőle, it's important. And he also had other incomes from towns and mines and such. But unfortunately, in this period, the mines were already running out, so Hungary had not that much gold and silver at that time as it had been. As you see, this huge income that he used was spent on the Black Army, which he used in several times for fighting, and he also spent a lot of money on the Renaissance culture because he was a great fan of arts and sciences. This picture of the Corvinas, the great hand-painted book collection of Matthias, he spent a lot of money on this, but also on Visegrad Palace and Buda Palace, as you remember. And he had the second wife, Beatrice. She came from Italy, so Italian Renaissance came to Hungary. So he spent a lot of money on that as well. Well, his foreign policy shows us that he had a lot of fights. As I told you, in the south, he had to defend the country from the breaking in Turks. But this was only a defensive war, so he didn't attack the Turks. What he did, he attacked towards the west, because please remember that his great dream was that he wanted to be Holy Roman Emperor. And this is why he first occupied Silesia and Moravia and became Czech king. He wanted to be a prince-elect who elects the Holy Roman Emperor and wanted to convince the other princes to vote for him, but nobody wanted. At that time, the Habsburg ruler Friedrich wanted his son to be Holy Roman Emperor, of course, and this is why Matthias was not taken into consideration. This is why he attacked on, and he also attacked in 1485. We don't need this date, but as you see, it's really at the end of his reign. He conquered Vienna, the great city of the Habsburgs. Well, it was a great success, but he couldn't keep it. After his death, it was lost. He also occupied Carinthia and other parts of Austria. So he just threatened the Habsburgs, but he couldn't make them vote for him. So this was unsuccessful. It was also unsuccessful to pass his reign to his son because he had an illegitimate son, a bastard. It was Corvin János. Well, unfortunately, his mother was not Beatrice and not Catherine Poggiobrad, the first queen. The mother was a civilian girl, so the king wanted to ensure the throne for his son, but it was impossible because the barons were waiting for his death. Please remember that when he died in 1490, his son was not the next king, and by his death, actually, the strong Hungarian kingdom failed and fell. I'm going to speak about that next year. So this is it. Most ezek a legfontosabb dolgok, amiket összeszedtem ebben a két videóban. Természetesen a legfontosabbak azok a videók és PowerPointok, amelyeket korábban küldtem ezekről a témákról, azokat kell igazából átnézni. Itt csak egy-két dolgot visszaismételtem, hogy mégiscsak emlékeztessek benneteket. A dolgozat tehát a csütörtöki napon lesz, erről majd írok külön. Jó munkát mindenkinek, készüljetek fel